Hey guys, it's Jun Kimchi here. So this is a question that I get a lot from my friends who want to learn how to code. If I had to learn coding from scratch, how would I do it? When I first learned how to code, I felt like I was learning something completely foreign. The reality is that learning how to code is like learning how to cook. With time and practice, you'll do it. These days, however, there are so many videos and online resources that it's actually very hard to know where to start. So let's cut right to the point and go over the exact blueprint that I would use if I had to start from scratch, and how you can use it for yourself. I promise to go through each step with a minimum of terminology so that even if you have never seen a line of code before, you can follow me as I explain. First of all, let's break down what exactly coding is. Coding is really just giving a computer a set of instructions, just like writing a recipe. It's telling the computer exactly what to do. Coding is also the reason why we can use our computers and smartphones the way we do today. It powers everything from email, social media, online shopping, to much more. Now, software developers are people who write code. This means that they write instructions after instructions so that your computer can do increasingly complex things like playing this video on your screen. The demand for software developers is projected to grow 21% from 2019 to 2029, much faster than the average for all jobs. This is due to the increased adoption of technology in every industry and the power of automation through code. Now that we have a sense of what coding is, we can answer the question, how do I get started? The first step is to pick one programming language. Why? In order to write instructions to your computer, you need a shared language between you and your computer to communicate, just like how we need English, Spanish, or other languages to talk to our friends. So what's a good language to start with? And why are there so many different coding languages? And what are the differences and similarities between each of them? Picking a coding language is like picking a knife. So you need to chop stuff up, right? A bread knife is going to be really good at cutting bread, but not so good at cutting fruit. On the other hand, a chef's knife is going to be kind of good at cutting everything, but not as good as the bread knife when it comes to cutting bread. In a similar way, two coding languages can tell your computer the same instruction, but one language might be specialized in creating mobile apps, while the other is sort of a jack of all trades. For example, Swift is a language used almost exclusively to build iOS apps. On the other hand, Python is a versatile language used in machine learning, artificial intelligence, building websites, and so much more. I would just start with Python as my first language. Of all the commonly used languages, it is in my opinion the easiest to read, write, and understand when you're starting out. Coding languages have rules that define their structure called syntax. Think of it as their version of grammar. Python happens to have a simple syntax and a set of rules that are very similar to the English grammar. In addition, there is a large community of Python developers who share their knowledge and resources, which makes it so much easier when you're looking for help. The second step in the blueprint would be to start writing code. Yes, start writing code today. I'd begin with a free interactive online tutorial. One great place to do this is learnpython.org, specifically their basics tutorial. It's a solid class at zero cost that will get you to write code as soon as possible, which is the most important thing for us. You don't have to set up anything, and all you need to do is get online and walk through the modules at your own pace. If this is your first time coding, I would recommend spending anywhere between 10 to 20 hours with this tutorial. Take an hour and a half each day, remove any distraction during that time, and consistently make progress until you reach the end. These first several hours will be pivotal in laying the grounds for coding. The tutorial will expose you to extremely important concepts such as variables, data types, functions, loops, classes, conditionals, and so much more. But don't worry about understanding exactly what these concepts are yet, but know that they will be your fundamental building blocks when you're coding. So after finishing the basics tutorial, you'll have written some lines of code, but there will be gaps in your understanding. The art behind coding really lies in continuing the journey with a mindset to grow and learn whenever you're faced with a challenge. Even the most experienced software developers would agree with me that they're confused half the time in their jobs. So where do we go from here? For this next step, to fill the gaps of knowledge, I'll take a hands-on computer science class that will reinforce your understanding that you have and expose you to some new things you haven't seen before. I recommend taking CS50. CS50 is a free 12-week online course taught by Professor David Mellon at Harvard. The lectures are dynamic, the teaching staff is phenomenal, and the problem sets really make you learn. The course will introduce you to some new programming languages, such as C, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and our familiar friend Python. And here's something I can't forget. You will learn the most from this class by allocating specific hours of your week to to this course. It's 1 lecture a week and a corresponding problem set. When I took this course, I did not get as much out of it because I was not disciplined. If I were to take this class again, I would dedicate 2 hours at the beginning of my week to watch the lecture. Then to work on the problem set, I would set aside 4 blocks of time, each block being 90 minutes long throughout the week. Again, don't let anyone distract you during those blocks. Silence and put away your phones. Just cut out any noise. Treat them as sacred. If you still feel the need to reinforce your fundamentals after CS50, I would recommend taking MIT's 6.00.1x Introduction to Programming. It's a semi-free class that focuses more on fundamental concepts using Python rather than a broader sort of introduction to computer science. After all that, you're fairly equipped with the right tools at this point to start the next step, which is crucial: creating your first software project. So how would I get started? Every project starts with an idea generation stage, an outlining process, and finally the implementation. For my first project, I would think of a simple and practical website that I personally would use. Why a website? Well, CS50 covers the basics of building a website and provides templates to start out with. I made my first ever project using CS50's template. It was a website where my friends and I could type and submit our location in the school's cafeteria. Using this website, we could tell where each of us were sitting. The road from start to finish for this project was simple enough and clear enough. I could sort of imagine what the implementation could look like just with CS50 knowledge. If you can't at least imagine parts of the implementation stage, your project, your idea could be a little bit too difficult as your first. Next, during the outline phase, I would define clearly the features that you want for your website. Do a rough sketch of what the website should look like and how people can use it. With the example from earlier, we needed a way to record someone's location when they sat down, a way to display where people were sitting, and a way to delete someone's location when they left. Cool, we outlined our idea, we have the features that we want, but actually before we start implementation, we have to pick out the frameworks and the programming languages we want to work with. So websites typically have 2 parts of them, a front end and a back end. A super duper quick crash course on what they mean. The front end is what you see and what you interact with. It's like the face of a robot, and the back end is like the robot's brain. It's what makes the website work and controls what happens behind the scenes. For example, it's the back end that allows your website to store information like the username. I would get started with HTML and CSS for my front end, and Django, a framework written in Python, for the backend. The great thing is these languages and frameworks should be extremely familiar after having completed CS50. Okay, we got the project idea, we outlined the features, and we picked out the frameworks to build our website with. Before you start, make sure to set up your computer to be development ready. What do I mean by this? First, you'll need to download and install the latest version of Python from the official Python website. Next, you'll need to download and install an IDE. An IDE, or an IDE, is an integrated development environment. It's like a really advanced text editor for coding. It'll help you write code more efficiently and easily. It can highlight different parts of your code with different colors, show you any mistakes you've made so far, and it can sometimes even help you run the code that you wrote, like Microsoft Word or Google Doc, but for coding. My personal favorite and my recommendation would have to be Visual Studio Code. It's extremely beginner-friendly and versatile. From here, the internet is filled with endless resources, tutorials, and communities of developers who are eager to help you learn and grow, just like you would with a class. Stay disciplined and dedicate good chunks of time to your project. When you run into a problem, don't give up. Your answer is just a Google search away. Literally type in what the problem you're facing is. There's a 99% chance that someone before you has run into the same problem. After your first project, you're officially an eligible software developer. Take your skills to the next level, keep building new projects, or add interesting features to your first project. Eventually, you'll want to create a portfolio of different projects. This is so that whenever someone wants to work with you, you have your portfolio to demonstrate your skill and your strengths as a software developer. Also, working towards a portfolio will keep you motivated to continue learning and continue to create new things. After all, that's what being a software developer is all about. I hope you'll agree with me that learning to code might not be as hard as you thought. Stay disciplined and stay determined. Your coding skills will improve with time, step by step. Don't be afraid to start small. Whether you're looking to create the next big app, build a website, or automate a task with code, the tools and knowledge are at your fingertips. Ask for help when you need it, and take advantage of the vast resources out on the internet. So go out there and start building. The world is waiting for your innovative ideas. Happy coding.